And we are live. This will be another edition of DT Live. Today is Tuesday, June 12th. This is 11 a.m. here in the Central Time Zone in the U.S. where I'm at. It's a bit of an unusual time for me to do one of these streams. A lot of times I do these in the late evenings, usually 9, 10 p.m. my time. Trying to switch it up a little bit, doing a stream early in the day, maybe catching a few folks that don't normally get to catch my live streams due to, different time zones around the world. Try to mix it up a little bit. Anyway, we've already got a couple of people in the chat here. Let's see. Annette, nice. Okay. He was here early. He actually left that comment a little while ago. Kevin Patel says, what's up? What's up, Kevin? Yeah, command line interface porn. Yep. That's what we're getting into today. Nikolai says, yo, present arms. Hi. Let's see. Bulat. I'm not sure if I've seen you in one of my streams before, Bulat. Hope I pronounced the name right. Welcome, sir. Josh Stevens says hello. How you doing, Josh? Anyway, let me get some of what I need to get together here. Give me just a second, guys. I'm going to move some windows around here on my screen. Alright, yeah. Tagferin says, hi, DT. Nice streaming. Thanks. Percolator is also in the chat. Hello, this seems like it could be useful. Yes, I think it will be. Marco says, yellow. Yellow, Marco. Let's see. Proud. Damn, you're streaming early today. Yeah, that's what I was just mentioning. I'm trying to switch it up a little bit today. Doing it at a little different time than what I normally would do. Keegan's here. How you doing, Keegan? As far as you guys, will you be able to use any of this that I share with you today? We're going to go over, like some basic terminal commands. Just basic command line interface stuff, bash commands. You'll find most of the commands I go over today, you'll find these useful for, file management. Creating files, copying files, removing files, moving files around, editing plain text files, that sort of thing. Tushar, hey man, I've seen all your videos. They are very helpful. Thank you, Tushar. Tim F, what's shaking today? How you doing, Tim? Good to see you. Jonathan Clark, nice to see you, DT. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I've got my coffee here. I was, again, switching it up a little bit to see if we get a different crowd on a stream today. So I normally do these late in the evening. I'm trying to do a morning stream today. Also, I won't be around this evening. I had my morning free today, so it was a good day to switch it up. Let's see. All right. Now, some of what I'm going to do today, of course, is actually everything I'm going to do today, I'm going to do in a terminal. So, not really going to play around with any graphical programs at all today. No GUI programs. I don't think I will need to do anything in a GUI at all for anything I'm going to show you today. I'm going to try to cover a lot of information kind of quickly, but I'm going to, be methodical in how I explain it. If anything doesn't make sense, just say something in the chat. If I need to go over something a second or a third time, feel free to mention it. Those of you that are very familiar with the terminal and the command line, I'm going to do some things, some commands. Oftentimes there's a dozen different ways to get the same job done. So, I know I'm going to do a command and then somebody else is going to give a different command to do the exact same thing, and then a third person's going to do another command and do the exact same thing. I'm not going to really overload, especially the command line novices with just a ton of information. I'm going to stick to pretty simple stuff today. All right. Let's see. Catch up on the chat before I get started, and then I may have to ignore the chat for a little bit, but I'll make a note in the chat, and I'll get back to you guys. Let's see. I used a similar video from Joe Collins to learn what little I know about the terminal. Yep. Yeah, Joe Collins is great. Like his channel. Tag friend, dear Derek, what's your opinion about the Linux community celebrating the acquisition of Microsoft with GitHub? I don't know if the Linux community is celebrating that. I actually haven't seen too many people actually celebrating Microsoft buying GitHub. Most people seem to, I don't know, be a little wary of that. Basically, it's a wait and see. Let's see what Microsoft does with it. Ben, midday stream, yep. GNU. Hello from Brazil again. Alright. Alright, so use the terminal, look cool, knowledgeable, get chicks. Yep. That's why we do it. Alright, so I'm going to open up a terminal. If you guys want to do any of what I'm doing, nothing I'm going to do will harm your system. So you can actually do all the exercises in the terminal. So open up your favorite terminal emulator. For me, I'm going to use URXVT. I'm going to actually zoom in a little bit too so you guys can see what I'm doing. You guys, if you're running GNOME, open up your GNOME terminal. If you're running KDE, open up console with a K. That's your terminal in KDE. XFCE has its XFCE terminal. Most Linux distributions have Xterm also on the system. So any terminal emulator you want to follow along with is fine. One of the very, very basic commands to start with is we need to figure out what directory we're in. Now, there's a number of ways to do this, but pwd, print working directory, hit enter, and it tells me what directory I'm in. I'm in my home directory, /home/dt. Your home directory is /home/your username. That is your home directory. I actually did not need to type pwd to know I'm in the home directory, though. You guys in the bash prompt here, you see this squiggly character. It's a tilde character. What that means is I'm in my home directory. That's what the tilde character symbolizes. It's basically an alias for home, my home directory. Home/dt is what the tilde character tells me. So, also, before we get started, let's also discuss this character here, this dollar symbol. Why is that dollar symbol there in the prompt? It tells me that I am my home user, the DT user. The dollar symbol tells you you are your home user. If I log in as root, so SU, and then my root password, you see the dollar symbol goes away, and now we have this pound symbol, this hashtag symbol. That tells me I am the root user. So you guys, when you're reading like wikis or tutorials online and they're giving you terminal commands, and you'll see the lines usually begin with either a dollar symbol or a pound symbol. They're telling you this command can be run as your home user if it's the dollar symbol. If it has that hashtag, it needs to be run with root privileges. So you need to either switch over to the super user with a su, or you need to use sudo. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to exit out of my root user though. So exit. Now I'm back to my home user. Again, my home user, the dollar symbol. I'm also in my home directory, the tilde character here. So if I want to switch to a different character other than my home directory, you use the cd command. CD. CD stands for change directory. Very easy to remember. CD, and if I want to go, instead of my home directory, let's go to the root directory. Root is just a slash, right? And now the tilde character is no longer there. Now we have this slash. Now it's telling me I'm in my root directory. If I want to go back to home, I could cd /home/dt. That gets me there. But you know what? I told you the tilde character is basically an alias for my home directory, so I could have done cd space tilde. That gets me there too, but you don't even have to do that. By default, anytime you type just cd and nothing else, give it no other arguments, cd takes you to home. So if I'm in root and I just type cd, I'm back in home. Hope that makes sense. So that's the first command. You will use cd a lot. If the main thing you would probably use your terminal and the command line for is basic file management stuff, navigating through the directories using something like cd. And later on I'll show you how to move files, copy files, create files. I'm going to get back to the chat for a second. Yeah, so Tushar says it's 9:30 p.m. in India. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I changed up the time for a stream today. Let's see. Yeah, they did it, unfortunately, and posted it in their official website. We're still talking about the Microsoft and GitHub. Yeah, I left GitHub when I heard that Microsoft was purchasing it, but I wasn't that invested in GitHub, so it wasn't a big deal to me. Let's see, they did it. Okay, yeah. Ben says, in the beginning, there was the command line. Most of what I know about the terminal comes from using Microsoft Xenix in college back in the mid-'80s. Yeah. I still type ls-la every time. Yeah. Well, we're going to cover the list command very shortly, because that is, other than the cd command I just showed you, the list command is something you will use a ton. Let's see, is it possible to run root command without root password? No. I mean, that's the point of having the root user. Is for security reasons, is to be required to give that password. Otherwise, it would be a very big security risk to your system if just anybody could execute something as root without being required to give a password. Let's see, you can add the power line to root by adding that same code. Yep. We might cover how I got the power line in the bash shell later in the stream. I've got some basic commands and stuff I want to get through, but we might get to some more fun stuff. Let's see. Yeah, cd is one command that DOS copied. Yep. Carl says, didn't know that you could just write cd, even if I've been using Linux for almost a decade. Yep. Yeah, you can do it with sudo. No root password required. Yeah, the thing with sudo, you only have to type it once. If you stay in the terminal, type sudo. Now, if you don't do anything in the terminal after so many minutes, then the next time you invoke sudo, you might have to type in a password. But if I type sudo right now and I keep doing stuff with the sudo command, it won't keep asking me for a password. The first time is all I needed to enter that password. The same thing with just switching over to the super user. Just type su, type the root password one time, and then everything you need to do as the root user, no passwords required. You've already entered it the first time. Yeah, William, you must be in the specific wheel or sudo group to be a sudoer. Yeah, we might cover some of that too. Some of the reasons you may need to use the command line, because a lot of people try to avoid the command line, but there are some situations where, especially during Linux installs, you do have to use the command line for some things. One of them, sometimes it's like adding users, adding your user to a specific group, like the wheel group. DT, what do you think about the Z shell? I like it. I've used ZSH before. The bash shell is the default shell in almost every Linux distribution. The bash shell is nice too, so I just use it. Also, for what I'm doing today, I'm going to stick with bash. Again, it's installed on every Linux distribution, I think, bash, and it's the default shell on 95% of them. Yeah, DT, what is the laptop behind? Why is that laptop behind you always on? No, it's not. Just during the day sometimes when I'm sitting at this desk, which is a couple hours a day. Let's see. 15-minute timeout for the sudo. Yeah. Oh, I made the live stream for once. Yeah. And we were switching up the times again. Yay. For once I'm on the live stream. Good to see you, Alice and Luke. Glad you guys could make it. All right. Let me make a note where I stopped here. See if we can get through some more of these commands. So we've discovered, print working directory just tells us where we're at, But we really don't need that command. That command is not very useful. For example, if I cd to root / I don't know, how about /home/dt/ desktop, my desktop folder. Do I need to print the working directory to know where I'm at? Well, I can do that, but you know what? The prompt here tells me where I'm at. I'm at, home/desktop. So, /home/dt/desktop. So, Print working directory is not a command you really need. CD. So we use CD, change directory, to get to my desktop folder. Just CD by itself gets me back to home. Now, did I need to type CD/home/DT/desktop to get to my desktop folder? No, because remember, the tilde character. The tilde character is a shorthand for my home directory, the /home/DT directory. So I did not need to type the full path. I could have just typed CD space tilde/desktop. And that gets me there. So it saves me a little bit of typing. So I never, when I'm changing directories, I never need to type /home/ my username. The tilde character is a shorthand for that. That's all you need. Alright, so I'm in the desktop directory. Let's see what files and directories are listed in my desktop directory. Somebody mentioned the list command, ls. ls stands for list. I've only got one file in this directory. It is the steam.desktop file. That's fine. I'm not going to play with that file. I could actually remove that file. I really don't need it. But it's pretty much an empty directory. There's really nothing in this desktop directory, so we're going to play around in this. You guys, if you're following along in your terminal, CD over to your desktop directory. If it's empty, I know for most of you there's not going to be much in that desktop directory. It may be completely empty. That's great. So we can create some files and folders, delete them, play around here, and we're not going to really do any damage to the system. So it's pretty safe to work in this directory here. Let's see. So the list command, ls. Somebody mentioned he always uses ls space -la. That gives us a list of everything in this directory, but in a little bit different format. These flags, -l stands for long format. So instead of, well, let me switch to a different directory so we can see what this does. I'm going to CD back to my home directory because there's a ton of stuff in my home directory. Pro tip. There's too much stuff on my screen here. It's getting difficult to see what I'm doing. Type the word clear. And I have a clean terminal again. So I CD'd back into the home directory. Now ls. This is how ls usually looks. It just gives you the name of the directories and files. Nothing else. No extra information. Just their names. And it's not organized. It's kind of organized in columns, right? ls space -l for long format. Now it gives you a lot of extra information. It gives you the permissions, user, group, size, date, and of course the file name or the directory name. So that is ls long format. It is actually much easier to read, much cleaner. It gives you much more information too. I mean, this is usually what I want to see. If I do the list command, I don't want to just see the file name or directory name. I want to see who owns that directory or file. What are the permissions? How big is that directory? So ls space -l for long format. One thing we need to discuss. Let me clear the screen again. If I can type clear. ls space -a. You notice when I do ls-a instead of just ls by itself, I get a lot more files and directories returned. That's because ls by itself does not show hidden files and directories. It does not show any hidden files and directories. What are hidden files and directories? Those are all the files and directories that start with a period. Your dot files. They are hidden files on your system. By default, ls does not show them. Let me run ls again. You see? No dot files of any kind. No dot configs, no dot directories. But ls.a shows everything. Shows all the hidden files and directories. And of course you can combine flags, ls space -l for long format, a for show all the files and directories, including the hidden ones. And for most people, they probably would like to have the ls command. Basically, every time they run it, they really are going to run it ls space -l a, and usually they'll add one more flag, h, for human readable. What does human readable mean? Well, some of these byte sizes, the size of the files and directories, if they're small, they're pretty readable, but once you get into megabytes and gigabytes, it's just this massive string of numbers. There's no commas separating them. It's hard to tell exactly what is that. Is that 50 megabytes? Is that 5 gigabytes. You know, what is that number? The H flag makes them human readable numbers. So now, you see, instead of 4,096 bytes, 4.0K, 1.9K, you know, much easier to read. So that is the ls command. Get back to the chat for a second. Tony T. DT, is it possible to support you in beers instead of cash? You know what? We might could do something like that. Maybe I'll set up something on Amazon. You guys can buy my coffee. Let's see. I have met in the past some nice C++ code that can give me root. Okay, without the password, yeah. Well, I'm sure you can bypass having the root password completely to where you never need to type it, not even the first time. I would not do that personally. Yeah, this command line is usually easier than the GUI for a lot of things. For a lot of the things I'm doing today, like just CDing around in the directory and showing you what files are in each directory, this is a lot easier than your GUI file manager. I'll tell you that. Let's see. How in depth are you going today? Basic commands? Yeah, just basic. So you mentioned sed, grep. No, we're not doing sed, grep, awk. Might do them in a future video though. Yeah, some basic sed, grep, awk. Again, how far do you want to go? I mean, you got to get into explaining what regular expressions are and all that. You know, especially for a live stream. It's tough to get into real detail on some of this. Some of that stuff would be better pre-recorded, because then I got to come back to the chat. I need to talk to you guys too. I mean, you're here to chat, so I don't want to get into any crazy, in-depth stuff, because for that I pretty much have to ignore the chat. See, learning the terminal super worthwhile. Yep, agree. ls-alh. Yep. You still using the command line interface full time? No, I was going to do that 30 days. So, but I'm still using most of those command line programs. Yeah, even though that challenge that I was doing is over, I still use most everything that I showed you guys during that month. I've still got them installed, and I still use most of them on a regular basis. Yeah, the fish shell, that's nice. Joshua, yep. ZSH, yep. ZSH is not entirely bash compatible, yeah, that's true. So your bash scripts may or may not work. Alright, use the H flag, yeah, for ls. Hey DT, says Joel. At work eating lunch, but I figured I'd stop by and watch the stream for a bit. Good to see you, Joel. In TTY with long list, you can pipe the more CMD. Okay. The command. I don't think newbies are going to love you. Toss. Yeah. How long will the video stay up so I can use it? Well, I mean, after this stream is over, it's going to be on YouTube forever. So I'm not deleting the video. You can come back and watch it. What is the used OS? I'm running Manjaro, but these are bash commands. I'm not going to do anything today that is distro specific. These are all distro agnostic commands. You can run this on Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, Arch, Gentoo. Nothing today is going to be distro specific. This will work in every single Linux distro. Yeah, what is my distro? Again, Manjaro. Several of you have asked what we're running today. Manjaro, but this really doesn't matter. Any Linux distro and any distro that has bash as its default shell, even if it doesn't have bash as its default shell, bash is installed on the system. If for some reason ZSH or fish is the default shell, all you would need to do is type bash at a prompt and it will switch you over to the bash shell. So, alright, let me clear the screen again. Let's see, clear. Yeah, DT, if you've not already done so, recommend using the /temp directory to prevent damage. Yep. Well, today, that's why I planned on doing everything in the desktop directory. It's in the home directory and that desktop directory. Most people don't have anything in it. If they do have anything in it, it's usually, pictures they found on the internet. Or, you know, like the .desktop files, things that are not really important. You haven't really lost anything. But let me show you what he's talking about here. So if I cd into root, and let's list everything in the root directory. In the root directory, we have this directory right here, temp. You see how it's highlighted? Now, the shell is basically highlighting that directory. It's giving us a warning that the privileges on that directory anybody can use, basically. That directory is wide open. See all these other directories? You have to be root, really, to do anything in things like, you know, the boot directory, the dev directory, etc., all of that. Root, of course. Temp you can play around in. So cd/temp. We don't have to be root. All these other directories in the root directory, we have to be root, but in temp, we can do whatever we want here. So we can play around in temp. We can create a file. Let's create a file, because we really haven't got into that. How about, let's do it with the touch command. And this will be easy. Touch space. And let's create a text file. We'll call it first.txt for text. Alright. Now, is that file there? Well, how would you figure out if that file actually was created? ls. And in this file, in this temp file, now there's quite a bit of stuff in my temporary file right here. So it might have been better to do this in my desktop folder because I had less stuff there, but this is fine. First.txt, though, is here. Alright. So, how do you create multiple files with touch? Well, you could do touch space second.txt space third.txt, etc., etc. ls first, second, and third.txt files. So that created those. Now they're empty text files. If I wanted to read them, say cat, which stands for concatenate, but you can actually read a file with cat space first.txt. It returns nothing. It returns nothing because first.txt is an empty file. There's nothing there. If I wanted to open first.txt with a text editor, say Nano, Nano should be on most Linux distributions. VI, or Vim, is on every Linux distribution, but I don't recommend new users using VI, so Nano's probably on your system. Nano space first.txt. Again, we can see this is an empty file. Now I can write something. How about this is line 1? And in Nano, at the bottom, it tells me how to exit. The little pip character X for exit. That's Control X. It's going to ask me, do I want to save? Y for yes. File name to write to, first.txt. Yep, that's correct. Hit enter. Now when I do cat first.txt, it's going to spit out that line that I typed. Now I could type cat first.txt, but you know what I could do? Your shell remembers the commands you previously typed. The arrow keys. Hit the up arrow key. You see all these commands I previously typed? I'm just going to go back to cat first.txt. And there you go. You see, this is line 1. So it spits out what I wrote to that file. Now, let's see. Where do we want to go from here? I want to keep it kind of simple today. First, I should probably go back to the chat. You guys, very talkative today. Let's see. Some of the old DOS commands work. Yep, that's where most of these came from. It's like the CD command and the print working directory command. Yeah, we're all old DOS commands. I remember them too as a child of the 80s. Let's see, it's AUR compatible though. Manjaro, yeah. Manjaro is basically Arch. It is, they hold packages back for about 2 weeks, so it's not quite in sync with Arch, but it's pretty close. Let's see, Ray Lackey, howdy from Oklahoma. Good to see you, Ray. Yeah, Control L to clear. Manjaro GNOME, thumbs up. I'm not a GNOME fan, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. DT, will you ever make a video on Minecraft? I thought about it. I thought about covering that one. Yeah, what's the most usable shell command? As far as the ones you're going to use the most, probably the ones you're going to use the most involve package management. I'm not going to cover that today because depending on what distro we're using, we're all using different package managers. And Arch-based systems, you're using Pacman and Debian and Ubuntu, you're using apt, and Fedora, you're using DNF. OpenSUSE, you're using Zipper, Gentoo, you're using Emerge. I'm not going to cover all that, but those are going to be the most used commands because you probably install, remove software, and update the system a lot in the command line. That's probably what you do most in the command line, actually, for most desktop users. Let's see, how do I get the manual for touch? We're about to cover that because that is probably the most important command line utility there is, this man. Let's see. I skipped over some of the chat here. Sorry, guys. Kevin says he's thinking about moving to OpenBSD. Very cool. I need to take a look at OpenBSD on the channel one day. I once used Vim. I never managed to quit it, so I sold my computer. I'm going to cover a little bit about Vim, like the very, very basics, because when you're in the command line, sometimes you do accidentally get into Vim. I'm going to show you guys how to quit it, because that's the one. It's like, that's usually what people want to do. They just want to get out of it as soon as they get into Vim. They're like, oh, what is this? Let me get out of it. Well, how do you quit it? If you don't know the keyboard command. Yeah, we're not going to do any rm-rf stuff today. Let's see. Pusang is in the chat. Hope all is good in Louisiana. Thank you, Pusang. Good to see you. Cat is also great for breaking your system if you cat a image to a partition in the wrong terminal window. Why would you want to do that? Ben says the most often used command for him is pacman-syu. I might do something with pacman-syu, even though I said I was going to try to keep everything distro agnostic. I might do some stuff with bash aliases on the stream. And that might be the command I use to set up an alias. Let's see. Aswin says, your videos are really helping me a lot. I'm glad you're finding it useful. Let's see. Vim are a pain in the neck for beginners. I agree. Let's see. And we got some more terminal commands. Some ls commands. Change owner. Change mod, PS, some grep stuff. Again, we're going to try to keep this kind of basic today. I'm going to cover a lot, but it's going to be really easy stuff. Nothing complicated at all. We're not going to get into grep, sed, and awk, and we're not going to get into regular expressions. So, because that's starting to get a little bit more involved. So, man. Somebody mentioned man. So what are some of the commands we've already learned? We learned what pwd, print working directory, was. But if you didn't know what pwd was, what it did, how would you look it up? Well, 95% probably of every program on Linux has what is known as a manual page. An instruction manual. We call it man pages. Type man, man, and then the name of the program. Print working directories pwd, and there you go. We have the man page for print working directory. How does the man page usually work? Well, it's set up. Usually the very first thing you get is the name pwd, and then a very short description. Print name of current working directory. Then we have the synopsis, and then we have a description, and it usually gives us the various flags we can use with that command. How do you get out of a man page? Q to quit. It tells you at the bottom of the man page in case you forget. Q to quit. But that's how you. So man, name of program, CD. Now this will be an interesting one because I know for a fact CD is one of those very few programs. Well, it does have a man page. I thought it didn't. I know there's one that we've covered already that doesn't. I think somebody mentioned it in the chat. Let me see. One of you guys asked about a man page that wasn't there. I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. Well, let's just cover them. How about man ls? Does the list command have one? Yep. quit. Man. Does man actually have a man page? Yes, it does. Man, an interface to the online reference manuals. It actually has a pretty long man page too. You guys want to read everything about man. Anyway, you get to the end. By the way, to navigate that, if you want to go line by line, just enter. If you want to page up or page down, you can navigate the man page that way too. See, man touch. We covered touch earlier. Yep. Occasionally, though, you will find man pages that are not there. You will find programs that haven't bothered to write a man page. Another useful way to get instruction manual type information is using the help flag. So, say pwd space dash dash help. Oftentimes, will give you help information. Basically, it just returns everything we saw in the man page in this case. PWD didn't have much of a man page, so cd space dash dash help. Let's see if that also gives us, yep, gives us some help information about cd. So you can do man, name of program, and for most programs you can also do name of program space dash dash help. Alright. And cleared the screen. Somebody mentioned Control L. Control L is a key binding to clear the screen. Of course, you can always just type the word clear. Also, we haven't discussed, obviously, to close your terminal, you know, you guys using your standard graphical desktop environments or whatever, just hit the close button. Or if you got a menu system, go to the menu and hit exit or quit. You can actually do it using the keyboard in the shell. Just type exit. Or, yep. Exit again. Yep. Alright. Now, let me open the terminal again. Let me zoom back in. Very briefly, I'm going to get back to the chat. Try to keep up on this a little bit. Yeah, I use Vim for Python development. Yep. Vim is not bad once you learn it. I always use Nano. Subhagen, hope I pronounced your name right. Yeah, Nano's fine for what most people need it for. I use Nano most of the time too. Let's see. rsync is powerful. Yes, it is. For backups. See, find and grab. We might cover find. Now, find. There's a lot of stuff you can do with find. We can really get into pretty serious detail covering the find command, but I might cover some basics with find. Yeah, of course we can do tail, heads and tails. I'm not sure if we'll do that today. Let's see. How to restrict pseudo users from changing the root password. Well, I mean, you've given, if they're a member of the pseudoers group, they have privileges to do anything they want as root, so including. So I'm not sure. Now that's an interesting question. Like, you want to give them root privileges, but you don't want them to have the right to change the root password. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but there's probably a way. Maybe somebody in the chat can help you out with that. It's strange. You're giving a user super user privileges, so you trust them with everything on the system, but you don't trust them to with regards to changing the password. I don't know. That's an interesting scenario there. Definitely not during this stream, but you should do a video on multiplexers like Screen or TMUX. We might do some of that in the future. Yeah, we should cover VI Pseudo. Yep. We might get into some of the stuff, especially during Linux installs, that you might have to do from a command line. VI Pseudo is one of them. Okay. Anyway, so I opened up a new terminal, so of course I'm back in my home directory, the tilde character, right? I'm also my home user, the $sign here. Alright, so let me go back to my desktop directory. Oh, cd/desktop. Now I can type out desktop, but another thing I want to show you about the bash shell. The tab key on your keyboard, start typing D, E, S. Just hit tab, and I bet it will auto-complete if it can. No, it doesn't. I must have some other stuff here. Yeah, well. Let me see. How about cat? Let's see what. This is my main machine. This is not a VM, so I'm not sure if I want to open up some of my files here, personal files. Now, most of these are not important. That report.xml file there, it's actually not important. Let me go to this desktop directory, though. I did not CD to my desktop directory. Alright, let's create a new file here. Sorry, guys. I'm all over the place today. So cat. Actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to show you something interesting you can do with echo. You guys, the echo command basically prints out something. So if I echo space single quotes, hello world, exclamation point in single quotes. That just prints it out right here, you know. It just returns hello world, exactly as I typed it inside the single quotes. Now I'm going to arrow up on the keyboard to get back to that, space. Then I'm going to do a greater than sign, a bracket, a chevron, whatever you want to call it, space, and then first.txt. We're going to echo hello world, and we're going to write it to a file called first.txt. ls. Now we created first.txt, right? Cat first.txt. Hello world. So we created first.txt and we wrote a line in it, hello world. So now, could we have written something else to it? Yeah, let me arrow up. How about that's, well, we can't use quotes, not a single quote anyway. How about that is tight? Now, when I arrow up and go back to cat first.txt, you know, that is tight is the line that's written in first.txt. Hello world, what happened to it? Well, it got overwritten. So, now what if you want to write lines to this without overwriting it? You would do something like this. Now, you know what? Let's do multi-lines first. How about echo, single quotes, line 1. Now, I'm not going to end the single quotes at the end here. I'm just going to hit enter. And you see I still have this little prompt. Now I'm going to do line 2. Hit enter. Line 3. Now I'll do the single quote at the end. Space. The bracket, the chevron, the greater than sign. First.txt. Now cat first.txt. Line 1, line 2, line 3. We wrote 3 lines to that file. Now, what if I wanted to add lines 4, 5, and 6 to this? Well, if I just do this here, line 4, if I can type, line 5, line 6, single quotes, and then chevron, greater than, first.txt. If I hit enter right now, it's going to overwrite line 1, line 2, line 3 with line 4, line 5, line 6. But I don't want to do that. I want to append first.txt with line 4, line 5, line 6, meaning I want to add 4, 5, and 6 behind 1, 2, and 3. So how do you do that? Well, instead of this single greater than sign, let's make it 2. This tells it to append the file. Hit enter. Now cat first.txt. Line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hope that wasn't too confusing. Again, we were trying to keep things kind of simple today. That might have been a little more advanced than what I intended. So, yeah, back to some of the permission questions. The guy was asking about having a pseudo user but not giving him permission to change the pseudo password. I think Joshua mentions, I think you would need a more complex permission setup where certain users have access to certain features. Yeah, it would get very complicated, I think. You have to make the password file immutable. Yeah. Also, a video on editing your SSH config to make it easier to SSH into servers would be a great video. I might do some SSH stuff. I don't use SSH that often, but I use it every now and then. And somebody was asking about common stuff to use in the command line. For a lot of people, SSH is one of the things they use on a regular basis. It's a great way to access remote machines. Alright. Yeah, we get some more echo hello world to various file names. Yeah, it's better to prefer printf over echo. Regarding ls command, how do I know how many files in the folder? Oh, the list command? Okay. So let's cover that. So, again, we can type clear or Control L. Clears the screen. So I'm going to cd back into my home directory because there's a lot of files in my home directory. ls. Again, this is not all the files. How do you get all the files? ls-a for all, including the hidden files and the hidden directories. That shows you everything. By default, the lists command will not show you the hidden files and directories. Let's see. You can actually read the man page for ls too. You have the -a flag, lowercase a for all, -capital A for almost all, so it does not list the implied period and double period. Let's see. And actually, there's quite a number of flags we could give the list command. I'm not going to go over all of this. Most of them I don't use. Most of them I don't know anything about, to be honest. But it is there in the man page. Let's see. Appreciate that, Tony T. Says it's not beer, but we're not doing beer just yet today. We're sticking with coffee. But sincerely, much appreciated, Tony. Info program name can be used if a new program doesn't have a manual. Yeah, you don't find too many programs on Linux that don't have a man page. You know, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that I type man, name a program, and they don't have a man page. It comes up every now and then, though. You know, it's one of those things, you know, a lot of open source projects really need help with things like documentation. Matter of fact, it's one of the things most people recommend, like new Linux people that want to contribute something. Documentation is a great thing to contribute. A lot of these open source programs, they need people to write things like the man page or the README file on GitHub or to contribute to the wiki on whatever their website is. So, and somebody mentioned the SL command. I actually was going to cover the SL command. I mean, there's so much we can do in the terminal. I mean, let's see, newer command using info. Yeah. All right. I don't want this to be, you know, just all serious business. So let's cover some fun stuff too. But there's a few things we need to cover. I really wanted to get through at least some of the basic file management stuff. We discussed how to move around in the directory structure with CD, how to list all our files and directories. We discussed how to create a file, or you know, just a plain text file with the touch command, an empty text file. We discussed nano. We didn't discuss Vim, but of course you can create a text file with Vim. So let me CD back into my desktop. So if I wanted to, I could vim first.txt, and it would create that file. Now that file already exists, so there it is. Now you guys, I mentioned Vim. If you ever, for some reason, you know, your Linux distro, the default editor happens to be VI or Vim, and you get in it and you don't know what to do, just remember this one command: colon, W for write, well actually no, not write, Q to quit, exclamation point. That's all you need. So let's cover that again. Colon, Q, exclamation point to quit. Okay, so now if you want to edit the file and then quit, let me show you how to do that. Now you can't just start typing anything. See, nothing happens. Type I on the keyboard. This, you see, now we're in what's called insert mode. Now I can actually move around and change things. So now I can delete, this is line 1. And now, to write and quit, you have to get out of insert mode. Escape. Hit the escape key twice. Now, colon, W for write, Q to quit, exclamation point. Now that's confusing, right? So don't get into VI or Vim unless you really know what you're doing, but sometimes you do accidentally get stuck in these things. Some distros don't have Nano on the system. They only come with VI, especially the really minimal installs. And you might get into a situation where you need to edit some plain text file and your only option is VI. That's how you quit. So, yeah, your Pseudo user, we're still trying to come up with the privileges for what the guy needed as far as trying to restrict the Pseudo user from changing the password. I'm sure there's a way. Let's see, show WC. And we might get into that. I still want to do, even though I'm taking my time here, I still haven't covered everything with the files yet. So let's see, ls. Okay, in my desktop directory I still have, the first.txt file. What if I want to create a new directory, a subdirectory? Well, there is a command called make directory, mkdir, make directory, and we'll call it test. Now do the ls command again. Now I have first.txt that I created earlier, and you see this, test. That is a directory. An empty directory, there's no file there, but I could put a file there. Let's discuss move. MV is move. Let's move first.txt. And then we need to type the location to move first.txt. Test. Type ls again to list. Test is here, but first.txt is no longer here. Well, let's cd into test. And now list ls. First.txt is in test now. Now, what if I didn't want to move it? What if I wanted to have two different copies? One in desktop and one in desktop/test. Well, you would need to copy. CP for copy. Copy first.txt. And then the path to where we want to copy it to. So you could do tilde for my home directory /desktop. Now, let's go back to the desktop directory. ls. Now I have first.txt there. cd back into test. ls. First.txt is also there. So that's just a little bit of basic stuff with move, mv, and copy, cp. And you can do multiple files with those. If I had a bunch of files to copy, cp, say first.txt. These files don't exist. This is just an example. Second.txt. I could do third.txt, so forth. But the last argument you need to give it is a location. So, like desktop. Same thing with move. You can give it multiple files to move. First.txt. Second.txt. I didn't spell that right. It doesn't matter. And then third, fourth, however many files you want to move, and then the path to wherever you're moving it to. So that covers a little bit of move and copy. It's very brief. We're trying to cover a bit of information here. So the big things though, cd to change directory, ls to list. Of course you need some kind of text editor. Plain text editor in the terminal, Nano, VI are good. You need move, MV, you need copy, CP. Another one you're going to use a lot in the terminal, I hate to even show you guys because this could be dangerous. Remove, RM. Now let's list everything in the test directory. We only have one file. Let's remove it. RM first.txt. Hit enter. That's it. ls. It's gone. Nothing's returned. We just deleted first.txt. Now why is remove kind of dangerous? Well, I mean, you don't get any kind of confirmation. It doesn't ask you, are you sure you want to delete this? It just deletes it, right? So be sure that this file or directory or whatever you're removing, that you really want to remove it. In your home directory, you can't mess up too much. You kind of, if you removed your entire home directory, you'd be in a world of hurt. But like in your root directory, don't play around in the root directory and start removing stuff. I would probably open up a GUI file manager if I really want to start copying and moving stuff around in the root directory, just to make sure, I don't really booger anything up too bad, especially as a newer user. Okay. Let's see, what coffee is that? This is nothing special here. This is Community. Pretty popular brand of coffee. Actually really good. If I don't buy Community, Folgers is not bad. That's what I keep at the house. At work, I usually do Joe, J-O-E, Joe brand coffee. I do their medium roast. That's the one that comes in the red box. For those of you that are familiar with that particular brand of coffee. Let's see, does DT have a Discord server? I do. I don't hang out there much. I log in just a few minutes, a couple of times a week, just to see what's going on over there. You can find it in the description of my YouTube channel. A link to my Discord server. Hey, there's Switch. Yeah, Switch to Linux. I saw him in the chat a second ago. Yep. How you doing, Tom? Yeah, a little emphasis on HJKL, the Vim keys, yeah, to navigate around in. You got a jet. Thanks for the stream, DT. Yeah, good to see you, Ritual. I still learn something new in the terminal almost every day. Now, it's easy to do. Nobody's ever going to just master everything there is to do in the terminal. Let's see. Have you done a video on remote access? I have not, but I have thought about doing one. You mentioned TeamViewer. Yeah, I might cover TeamViewer. It's not free and open source, but TeamViewer's nice and a lot of people use it. So I might do something with TeamViewer. Might do something with, for sure I'll cover SSH at some point. Might do something with a VNC, maybe Tiger VNC or something. Robert Fitzpatrick. Thanks, Derek, for another great lesson. Yep. Yeah, and it is really gone. Talking about the remove, yeah, it's not like you get sent to some trash bin or something and you can get it back. So be careful with the remove command. Yeah, we're not going to cover DD today. Gray ass roots giving people DD commands. Be careful with DD. That's another one. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, don't play around with DD at all. Let's see. Have you talked about grep yet? We're not going to cover grep, sed, or awk today. We're going to try to keep it really basic. I might cover grep in a future video or stream. Let's see. Yeah, Switch, he says he's well. Let's see, Perl is the best language for scripting in Linux. I don't know. I'm not much of a programmer, but I don't know, Python works well too. Not much of a bash scripter, but a lot of people love just writing bash scripts. See, I use SSH to access his AWS EC2 instances. Yeah. DT, can you do a video on WPA supplicant? Possibly. Got so many things, I need to get around to doing at some point. So many videos to make, so little time. Yeah, Kyle says, this is the first time I've viewed one of your live streams. This is really great. Thank you. Yeah. Someone who turns caffeine into code is a programmer. Is that the definition of a programmer? That's a good definition. Yeah, I feel like a good way to teach people that SSH is how to set up, make life easier, is with a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I might do some Raspberry Pi stuff. I need to buy a Raspberry Pi first, but I agree. That would be something cool to do. All right, so we did CD, LS. We talked about man pages, which is really important. We discussed touch, echo, cat, nano, vim, make directory, move, copy, remove. Now we didn't make directory, we didn't do remove directory. So we have this test directory. Let's cd space, cd. So cd space 2 periods to move up one directory. So we moved from desktop/test back up to desktop. ls, you see test is here. Let's remove it. Now we discussed the remove command, rm test. Does not work. Why does it not work? Because rm works for files. It does not work for directories, for the most part. And it gives you that error. You cannot remove test is a directory. How would you remove test? rmdir for remove directory. So rmdir test removes it. ls test is gone. Now remove directory only works on empty directories. So let's make a directory again. Let's see how far up was. Just type it in. Make directory test. So we're going to remake test. I'm going to make a file touch first.txt, and we're going to put it in. We'll put it in test. So let's cd into test. Make sure that file is there. It's not. Well, I don't think I typed that right. Oh well, we'll make it. So touch first.txt again. ls. It's here now. Clear. That wasn't important what I just did. I just did all that to demonstrate something. So I recreated that test directory. I put a file in it. Now test is not empty, right? There's a file in it. I'm going to cd back up into desktop. Now let's remove test with remove directory. We get an error, right? It will not remove the test directory because it is not empty. You cannot remove a directory unless it's empty. Well, that's not entirely true. You can give it a flag to force it to remove that directory. You can also just use this command here, rm-rf. Basically, we're about to force it to remove this directory. rm-rf. It's going to recursively remove test and everything in test. Every directory and subdirectory in test, every file in test. Test is going to get completely blown away and everything inside it is going bye-bye. This is a dangerous command. Do not ever use rm space -rf. I'm going to do it to demonstrate that test is gone. Everything that was in test is gone. But again, you're not going to get any kind of warning prompt. Hey, are you sure you want to do this? If instead of what I just did, rm-rf test, what if I did rm-rf root? Well, your machine just got blown away. Or rm-rf home, the path to your home directory. All your home user data is gone. You're never getting it back. It's not in a trash bin. You can't go retrieve it. So rm-rf. Use that thing with extreme caution. Okay. All right. And yes, I just use the R flag. Everybody's talking about the recursive flag. Yep. I always use rm-rf. Yeah, be careful with that. That one is one I really, new users, don't use that thing unless you're in a directory that is completely safe. Same thing with the dd command. I'm not covering dd at all today. But you guys that are wanting to like format drives and stuff and USB sticks using the dd command, all it takes is you typing one character wrong and you might format the wrong drive. So, by the way, for those on Windows who want to follow this, you can activate the Windows subsystem for Linux. You do need to be sure you don't do rm-rf root. Yeah, do not do that on root. Now, most Linux distributions these days, because so many people have accidentally typed that command, they have things in place. Like if I don't know if Manjaro is one of those distros. It may be. I'm not going to test it out because if I'm wrong, it's going to destroy my machine. But if I type rm-rf root on most distros, it will not execute that command. They've disabled it. it'll spit out some error saying, hey, if you really want to do this command, here is a much longer and more convoluted way of doing it, and you have to actually type that command to do the rm-rf root. If that makes sense. Yeah, the world's best command is, yeah, sudo rm-rf root, no preserve root. Yeah, don't do that command. As a matter of fact, don't type anything that these people are telling you in the chat. Guys, ignore the chat. Don't put this in your terminal. Alright. And let's see, do we really want to cover anything else? Let me CD back into home. Now, of course, we talked about ls for list. Now, there is a program that's not installed by default on your system. It is in most everybody's repos, though. Instead of ls, install something called SL. What is SL? It stands for Steam Locomotive. Now, I don't have it installed here, so I'm going to quickly install it on my system, just to demonstrate it. What is Steam Locomotive? Well, you run it, SL. And here you go. You get the Steam Locomotive running across your terminal, and then you get your prompt back. Now, what is the point of that? Well, let's man page it. M-A-N-S-L. SL, it cures your bad habit of mistyping. So, what does that mean? It means ls is a very common command to use in the terminal, and in a hurry, it's very easy to accidentally... Well, guess what? Because you have to sit here and watch the Steam Locomotive go by every time you mistype ls and type SL, yeah, it's quickly going to teach you to type right. So that is SL. Some fun stuff there. Another good one is Fortune. I don't have Fortune installed, do I? No, if I typed it right, maybe. Alright, so sudo pacman-s, and I believe the name of the package is not Fortune, it is fortune-mod. Yeah. Fortune is also available in Debian and all those Debian-based repos. Of course, Arch and Arch-based. Fortune is very common. You'll find it. Now, when I type Fortune in the terminal, what do I get? I get a Fortune. Basically a quote of some kind. And the next time you consider complaining that running Lucid Emacs 1905 via NFS from a remote Linux machine in Paraguay doesn't seem to get the background colors right, you'll know who to thank. I'm not sure why that's supposed to be funny, but that's kind of cool. Clear. Fortune again. Pascal is not a high-level language. Yeah. Anyway, every time you type Fortune, you get a new Fortune. Pretty cool, right? Now let's install another program. Sudo pacman-S calsay. This is a very, very important program. Everybody needs to have this on their system. What is calsay? Calsay is an ASCII art cow with a text bubble above its head. Now you need to pipe something into calsay for that text bubble to actually be filled with something. So Fortune space the pipe character space calsay. We're going to get a Fortune now inside the ASCII art cow with the text bubble above its head. If I up arrow key, hit it again, I'll get a new Fortune piped into calsay. And another one. And another one. So SL, Fortune, and calsay, they're kind of fun, neat little programs that everybody really should have installed on their system. Let's see. What did I miss in the chat here? More rm-rf stuff. rm-rf root space -- ignore chat. Yeah, that's all we need. It's the next time I do a live chat, 2 or 3 people show up. Hey, I hosed my system by typing in terminal commands people in the chat were posting. But you know what? Public service announcement, you should never copy and paste anything into the terminal you see on the internet. Unless you really know what it's doing and you're sure it's from a trusted source. Don't just read some random blog on the internet. They give you a command to put in your terminal and you paste that thing and hit enter and see what happens. It's not a good idea. Do a little research first. Yeah, nice choo-choo train. Yeah. Indeed, it's best to take your time and check your spelling in the terminal, or you could trash all kinds of stuff. That is true. Again, I mentioned DD. All it takes is the wrong letter or the wrong number. Instead of SDA1, you do SDB1, or vice versa. Or instead of 1, you do 2. That partition you were trying to format, you partition your home partition. So that USB stick, you just host your SSD drive in your machine. Yeah, the VI Emacs war is still alive and kicking after almost 4 decades. We're not covering Emacs today. The only reason I mentioned VI is because it's, installed on every Linux distro out of the box. You've got VI on every Linux distro, so it really is the default text editor on most. I mean, it's not the default, but it's installed on every distro. Most of them, though, know that VI is not very user-friendly, so most distros are nice enough to install Nano as well and make Nano the default editor, so you don't have to use VI. We've got some other terminal commands. fdisk, we're not going to cover fdisk today. Might do some fdisk stuff in the future as far as, creating partitions and stuff. Oh, and then we've got, another command from Tony T that nobody should actually enter into the terminal. It's going to completely lock up your system. I prefer Nano. I want something with more functionality. If I want something with more functionality, I go with the GUI editor. Yeah. So, what's some other things we could cover today? Because I'm probably just going to stream for a few more minutes here. You know what we didn't cover, like searching for stuff on the system. How about which? What is which? Well, before we even use it, why don't we man page it? Man which. Okay. Which. It shows the full path of commands. What does that mean? Well, let's quit. Man, how about CD? Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. A which CD. There you go. Which. No CD in, yeah. Okay, that one didn't work. How about which? I have Firefox on this system. Let's do a more substantial program here. Alright, now that actually returns something. User bin Firefox. That is the path to Firefox. That is where the binary for Firefox lives on the system. Which, I don't know. Qtile is my window manager. Let's see. Yep, user bin Qtile. There you go. Another useful command might be where is. Where is Firefox? And what does that return? It returns a couple of different things. Now it returns the path to the binary, user bin Firefox. It also does the path where the Firefox libraries reside on the system, user lib Firefox. If we want more information about where is, of course, you can man where is. Locate the binary, source, and the man page for a command. So it should give us the binary, the source, and the path to the man page. It didn't give us the path to Firefox's man page, though. Let's see, where is Qtile? Let's see if we get more information in that. Yep, the binary, and that is the path to Qtile's man page. User share man1 Qtile, qtile.1.gz. Okay. So which and where is, to be honest, where is basically gives you the same information as which. It just gives you a little extra information. So really, I would just use where is instead of which. Another interesting command is locate. Now, locate on most Linux systems does not work. You actually have to install a package called mlocate. So, in Arch, sudo pacman -S mlocate. In Debian and Ubuntu, you would sudo apt install mlocate. Hit enter. It's a very small package. It just takes a few seconds to load or to install. Once you have that package mlocate installed, you need to run this command, update db, for update database. You have to do it as sudo, so that's what this error was about here. Alright, the database has been updated. Now when you do the command locate, name a program, file, whatever, just give it a word to search for, Qtile, and it gives in this very long list of basically every path on the machine that includes the word Qtile. User share .qtile, user lib python, Qtile stuff. Anyway, you get the point. Clear the screen. That's locate. Very useful command, locate. Another good one is find. Somebody mentioned find. Find is a very powerful command. There is a lot you can do with find. I'll show you the man page to demonstrate this. Man find. And I'm going to page down. Pretty substantial man page for find. We could have done an entire live stream today just on how to use find. And I'm still paging down. Okay, I finally got to the end. Quit. Okay. How would you use find? Well, again, there are so many flags and options to find. I don't use find that much, but find. Let's see. Find. Is it a time to? Okay, yeah. Now, what did I just do? Let's clear the screen here. Find dash a time. What does that flag do? A time means accessed time in days 2. So it finds every program on the system that I've accessed in the last 2 days, and that's why that list was gigantic. You can imagine everything that you've accessed in the last 2 days on your system. I could have done C time. Find everything I've created in the last 2 days. It's a pretty long list too, because you got a lot of cache files, a lot of temp files, a ton of stuff. Now, instead of doing it by days, how about minutes? So CMIN for created in the last 2 minutes. And I've actually created a lot of stuff in the last 2 minutes because I've got a lot of cache stuff going on. I have Firefox open. I also have OBS open, and they're creating a lot of temporary files. Anyway, that's just one very simple command with find. You can find stuff by size, so you can find stuff by date, by size. Let me go back to man find. Let's see some of the flags here. If I can find them. It's such a long man page. Okay. Accessed in minutes, accessed newer, accessed time, created in minutes, created in newer, create time. You can search file system type by group name. Okay, you can search by size. You can give it the size flag, size in bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. So if I quit, find size, give it the size flag, and then everything that is smaller than 5 megabytes on the system. 5 capital M. Now I gave it minus 5M, that's smaller than 5 megabytes. I could do plus 5M for everything bigger than 5 megabytes. This is going to be a gigantic list either way. Yeah. So that is just a little bit you can do with find. Find is a very complicated and complex program. I really wasn't trying to cover that one today, but we did have a couple of people mention find, so I thought I would at least throw it out there. You guys that are more interested in some of the stuff with find, just read the man page. As a matter of fact, any of this stuff, just read the man page. You should read the man page for everything. Let's see. All right. So much chat I missed here playing around there with which, where is, locate, and find. Sorry, guys. I'm losing my voice here a little bit. Let me get some coffee. Coffee done got cold. Yeah, Sublime is where it's at. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, buddy. Thanks for doing this. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. We'll watch the whole thing later. Yeah. Just catch it on the replay. I'm actually going to kill the stream here in a few minutes. I think I've covered everything I really wanted to cover today. I just was covering basics today. I didn't want to get it into anything too complicated. And we were about to get into some complicated stuff there with find, so I don't want to, make any newbies' heads explode with some of this stuff. Not covering fdisk today. Let's see. The easiest way to trash your system is with Suicide Linux. Let's see, Zibbity Boss is in the house. How you doing, Zeb? LOL, neither VI nor Vim is in Peppermint. Really? Why would that... I mean, that's strange that wouldn't be installed on the system. They may have VI or Vim aliased 2 nano, though, to prevent it from being run. Peter says, I prefer Ed. Yeah. VI made sense in the old days before 101 keyboard. Yeah. HJKL beats cursor keys. Yeah. Terminal is closer to the PowerShell. Ivan, DT, you should become a professor. Well, I did teach a little bit years ago. Let's see, have you covered built-ins? No. slocate? No. We're not doing much in the next few minutes. I think we've covered all we're going to cover today. Locate is useful, yes. Yeah, I really like the locate command. How about multiple terminals via Alt-F for GUI-less setups? Yeah, somebody also mentioned doing a video on multiplexers like tmux. Might cover that in a future video. I don't use multiplexers myself because you guys know I use a tiling window manager, right? It doesn't make too much sense for me to start tiling my terminal inside the terminal when I can just get a new terminal, you know, like that. So I don't personally use those, but I may cover them. I mean, I know a lot of people love things like screen and tmux. Yeah, I might be wrong since I don't really use Debian-based systems, but isn't apt just short for aptitude? No, they're two different programs. Aptitude and apt are not the exact same program. Yeah, and Peter mentions aptitude is a front end to apt. Apt equals aptitude. Deselect. Yep. So I recently switched to tiling window managers and love it. Yep. I'm Neckbeard Brony. I use tmux on my server and in TTYs on my main system. Yeah. What's this terminal theme? You're asking about my terminal theme here. The colors are solarized dark. Your standard solarized dark theme. You can find that anywhere. Just a Google search for solarized. As far as the bash prompt here, this is Powerline. It's a Powerline bash, I think. That's the name of the program. I actually covered that in a recent video. It was probably, I don't know, a week, maybe 2 weeks back. Check my video history. Let's see if I can pull it up here. I may post a link in the chat here for you if I can find it. Not sure exactly how far back that video was. It's all a blur these days. Copy link location. Alright, let's see if I can post that. Yeah, and that is for NeoFetch and Powerline Bash. Okay. Powerline Shell is the name of the program. Yep. Okay. And if you watch that video, I linked actually to the GitHub pages for Powerline Shell and to NeoFetch. So yeah, shut down -R now. Yeah, if you want to know how to shut down your system, actually we could cover some of that. Some of the things you sometimes need to do from a command line is reboot your system. Sudo reboot. Shutdown, sudo shutdown. Sometimes you need to give it, you know, some extra flags. Now usually works for immediately on most distros. So those are a couple of commands you sometimes use. I mentioned stuff sometimes you have to get into during installs, especially minimal installs with things like Arch, Gentoo, those kinds of distros. Do you want to check if your network is actually running? How do you check if you have internet? Ping. Ping google.com. And it's just going to ping google.com forever. Let's see. Control-C kills the ping. All right. Now, if you want to give it a specific number of pings, ping-c, 3 for 3 pings, google.com. It will ping Google 3 times only. So I don't need to Control-C to kill it. So the command you'll find useful sometimes. Power off also works for a shutdown. This is Comrade Curio. Good to see you, Comrade, by the way. Not sure if you've been here for a bit. Yeah, ping, traceroute, yeah, real hackers, ping, bing. You guys got jokes today. Alright guys, well I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day. I think we've covered everything that I really wanted to cover, as far as, you know, some real basic stuff. Alright, so what did we cover today? We covered PWD, CD, LS, man, we covered the -- help flag, we covered touch, mate directory, we covered move, copy, remove directory. Let's see, what else did we cover? Which, where is, locate, find, we echoed something, cat, we talked about nano and VI and Vim. Let's see, what else did we do? We talked about SL, Fortune. Now these are not that serious programs, but Fortune and Calce are worth taking a look at. And of course, we talked about ping, reboot, shutdown. Yeah, we covered quite a bit today. Let me delete all of that, and I'm going to close this window. Lesson over. Alright, so if you guys got anything you want to share in the chat, let's make it last couple of minutes here. So, say mtrace, yeah, thanks DT, have a great day. Don't forget to smash that like button, guys. Every little, yep. Yeah, it definitely helps. The likes, the shares, the comments, they help the channel rank better, and YouTube's algorithms, more people, more eyes on the channel. So it definitely helps. Yeah, try the history command to display all. Yep, I thought about covering history too, but we ran out of time today. But history is a nice command. I thought about covering apropos. I thought about doing some bash alias stuff too. Somebody had mentioned that earlier in the stream. I thought maybe I would play around with that, but we'll save that for another time. Alright, yeah. Okay, hi and bye. Good night. Well, good to see you, DViz. Mike says thanks. Yeah. Pradesh, thanks. Thank you, Pradesh. Ben, yeah. Nice stream. Ta-ta for now. Good to see you, Zeb. Alright, dating with hot girls? Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Am I late? Yeah, you missed it, but catch it on the replay. Just wanted to say appreciate your videos. Have a good day. Alright. May more users remove Windows. That's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get everybody off of Windows. Great one today. Thanks, Tim. Good to see you, buddy. And I'll try to catch up with you later in the week. I'm sure I'll see you around. What about RM-RF? You guys, you're going to catch somebody sleeping. They're going to type that in the terminal one day. The good thing is, at least with that command, as I've said, most modern distros have that command disabled to where that command doesn't work without you going through some extra steps. So, Tony T, I heard hot girls. What? Yeah, there's a lot of hot girls in Linux, don't you know, Tony? That's why we all run Linux. Alright, I do want to give a thanks to everybody that's still hanging out in the chat, and everybody that was here earlier. The folks that are still in the chat, some of you I can see here, Aswin, Ben, Bulat, Comrade, Dating with Hot Girls, DViz, Indy, Jonathan, Koyu, Krish, Kyle, Mike, ODS, Peter, Pradesh, Pusang, Silent Reboot, Steve, Tim F, Tony T, Tux, Undefined is in the house, Wayne, ZA Linux, Zeb. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Of course, before I go, I do need to give a special thanks to my patrons, all my Patreon supporters: David, Carlos, Nick, Daniel, Brian, Leor, A.K. Ron, Keith, Dan, Michael, Tony, Bruno, David, Mike, Silvio, Omar, Mark, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Carl, Greg, Rob, Matt, Christian, Tiedemann, Stephen Z, Eduardo, Alex, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen B, Marcus, Interceptor, Tubella, and Humade. Appreciate you guys. You guys help make this show possible. Peace.